Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about allée couverte tombs. Today we're in the Morbihan department of Brittany, and allée couverte tombs are quite prolific throughout the whole of Morbihan and Côte d'Armor, from pretty much central Brittany all the way up to the north coast. Allées couvertes are long, thin, parallel arrangements of stones that once had a capstone along the top and were used for, we presume, burying the dead, although we have the problem in Brittany of disappearing human remains. The soils are so acidic that we end up with what we call the disappearing dead. Anyway, there are two or three different types of allée couverte, and today we're going to look at a particular type called a lateral entrance tomb. What we're looking at here is the allée couverte du Grand Village, and as you can see, it's a bit of a monster. It's 25 meters long, and as I pan along its length, you'll see it can look just like a jumbled pile of rocks, but you begin to understand how these tombs work when you realize that these jumbled piles of rock are in perfectly parallel lines. Roughly halfway along the length of the tomb, you can see there's something of a gap in the side, with parallel stones coming out at right angles to the main axis of the tomb. This is the lateral entrance, the entrance in the side that gives its name to this type of tomb. So here you can see the main stones that would have formed either side of the central gallery or alleyway that went up and down the middle of the tomb. But just to the left, if I pan across here in the undergrowth, you can see some smaller stones. Now these smaller stones would have been set around the outside and would have formed the edge or the curb of the burial mound itself. So this whole structure would have been covered perhaps in an earth mound, or maybe with a cairn made of small stones. This idea of the curb stones holding back a cairn of stone or a mound of earth was very easy to see at another allée couverte in the north of Brittany. This is the allée couverte du Crequillet near Lannion, and what you can also see here very clearly is the side entrance to the tomb leading into that long central corridor that we've been talking about. It's amazing the difference a bit of restoration can make. So how old are the allée couverte tombs? Brittany's famous for its ancient monuments, for its menhirs, its stone rows, its passage graves, that can be anything up to 6,500 years old. These allées couvertes are much younger than that. These date from a period coming towards the end of the Neolithic, so perhaps the first of them built around about 2,500 BC through to about 1800 BC and the dawn of the Bronze Age. So these tombs were built at a time when the passage graves, more famous around Karnak, were already 2,500 years old. Or if you think about that time span, that's like the time between us now and the Roman Empire. So we have ancient monuments being built with reference to older, even more ancient monuments. Now, one of the things you find with the allée couverte tombs, and some of the others as well, is that they're reused. So when they were initially built, they were left open for several hundred years as various generations came and went, Um, but then finally they were sealed, only to be reopened later with the advent of the beaker culture, where we know that some of these tombs had their capstones removed and new deposits were added. Then they were sealed again and left. Why people did that, we can only speculate, but maybe this was about claiming monuments for the new group of people that were moving into an area. So at Le Grand Village, it takes a little bit of imagination to understand what's going on with an allée couverte. Whereas here at the allée couverte du Correc, much less is left to the imagination, and you can see the form of these allée couverte tombs. And don't worry about the arch over the top of it, that's late medieval, and that was built as a Christian calvaire. At a time when a lot of these ancient sites were being Christianized. So in that case, this calvaire would have had a cross on the top, and the ancient tomb underneath would have stood in for the tomb that Christ is said to have been laid in after the crucifixion. Um, but we're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about the allée couverte tombs. And this one has all the features I was describing at Le Grand Village, the long, thin passageway with the blocking stones at either end, and an entrance on the side. And in this case, the entrance is very clearly towards the right-hand end, and that's most definitely the case with the vast majority of these tombs in Brittany. Um, Now there's something very, very special with the entrance to this tomb, which we will have a look at in just a moment. So this hole was described by the French archaeologist Pierre Roland as the Trou des âmes, the hole of souls. Um, and these were probably a feature of most, if not all, of these tombs. A pierced stone, in this case it's two stones placed side by side with this circular hole drilled through to allow access to the tomb. Now, it's a bit of a tight squeeze for me, and in some cases these holes are smaller, and it makes me wonder who this hole was for, who was going in and out of these tombs. I suspect it was probably children. So why do I think it was children that entered these tombs? Partly because the entrance hole is so small. It would be a squeeze for a full-grown adult. In some other cases the hole is even smaller, and we also see tombs more ancient than this, anything up to 2,000 years older than this, with small triangular gaps in the entranceways, which in these cases would be in the end of the tomb, that would certainly only be large enough for a child to enter. But why are the children going in there? I think that's something to do with communing with the ancestors. These tombs were not places to place the dead and then forget about them. These tombs were left open in many cases for hundreds of years, and the dead would have been placed inside and taken out. They would have been shown to the family. There may even have been festivals similar to the ones we see around the world even today, where the bones of the dead are wrapped and then a year later taken out, unwrapped, washed, anointed with oils, rewrapped, and then possibly the family might dance with them. There may be some sort of festival that takes place. So I can see those sorts of things happening at tombs like this. So there we have it. These are allée couverte tombs, but of a lateral entrance variety. This is a type of tomb that actually isn't native to Brittany. The earliest examples of this are found in Holland, and they predate these examples by about 500 years. You'll also find similar examples in northwestern Germany. And this seems to be evidence of a group of people who have their origins in the Low Countries, so Holland, Belgium, northwestern Germany, southern Denmark, who've moved into northern Brittany and then have gradually spread south throughout the Breton Peninsula, or the Armorican Peninsula as we also refer to it. And it's through tombs like this that we can begin to trace the movements of people, the meeting of cultures, and in some cases clashes between cultures. But again, that's something that we'll discuss in another video. If you've enjoyed this, remember to like and subscribe, and I still don't know where to point for those, and we'll have another video for you very soon.